Just because it's the middle of July doesn't mean that the Supreme Court has stopped handing down enormously consequential rulings. In fact, it is continuing, maybe even doubling down on its penchant for siding with the Trump administration against the lower federal courts and bolstering the Trump administration's efforts to dismantle the federal workforce, even in clear violation of congressionally enacted statutes and the Constitution. And more importantly, they are doing all of this without a word of explanation.
So, the most egregious example of the phenomenon Melissa just described was an order issued last Monday greenlighting the Trump administration's gutting of the Department of Education. The Department of Education was created by statute. The components of the Department of Education that do things like enforce civil rights and manage student loans, they were also created by statute. There is a specific statutory provision that actually does give the secretary a good deal of authority to reorganize or even discontinue some statutory entities if she follows certain steps required by the statute. But it also explicitly prohibits the secretary from abolishing any other entities. And Sotomayor talks about this in her dissent. Well, it turns out the secretary did not follow the steps required for her to exercise the power that she does have here. And the cuts that she ordered functionally eliminate entities the statute specifically precludes her from eliminating. So it certainly seems to me that this is a case in which it is at least far from obvious that the government will win on the merits. And to me, it seems really obvious that it should lose, though a lot turns on how willing you are to penetrate these bad faith representations that the government is making about why it is doing what it is doing. But again, because there's no reasoning, we actually don't know what the court concluded or why.
But unless there's another lawsuit that fares better at SCOTUS in the short term, the Department of Education is moving forward with all of these cuts that will have catastrophic consequences for the service that the agency provides and will effectively dismantle the agency. And to be clear, the services that this agency provides are numerous, and they have real practical consequences on the ground for lots of people. The Department of Education manages federal student financial aid. It administers federal grants to both K through 12 and higher education institutions. It enforces anti-discrimination laws in the context of educational institutions. It administers the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, the IDEA, which requires schools to provide a free and appropriate education, even for students with disabilities or learning differences. It creates programs for bilingual education and English language instructions, among many other things. This is going to have a real hit on real people's lives, including some of the most vulnerable people, children in our society.